It's interesting, Robert, because we see as this charismatic public figure, well-spoken young man, and you've described yourself, I think the phrase you've used is you're a natural loner. In fact, your parents talked about that when you were a kid, they used to go into your room because you were so quiet just to make sure that you were still in there. What's a natural loner?
It's what I believe, that I don't have to be out and about doing things to feel like I'm accomplishing something. So like we talked about before, I can stay at home all day, chill with my wife, our dogs, and do things at the house and not feel like I have to go bowling or go hang out with a bunch of people or go party and feel like I'm doing something with my life.
You moved around a lot as a kid, typical Army brat, as they say. Not only one parent, but two parents were Army sergeants. You're born in Okinawa, Japan, which means you can't be president, but I'm going to fix that, so don't worry about that. We'll take care of that. You're born in Japan, you lived in Tacoma, Washington, New Orleans, eventually Texas, and then when you were in New Orleans, your parents left for South Korea. You lived with family, you were 6, 7 years old, and you moved around a lot, so a lot of moving, a lot of changing schools at a very young age. How did that shape you?
I think it shaped me, and it goes back to leadership once again, because you have to be able to relate to people, because trust me, I don't remember when I was 1 years old in Okinawa, Japan, but I do remember moving around a ton once we got back to the States. And you have to be able to change environments. Just think about the NFL. You go to a new team with a new coach, new players, new city. So you have to learn how to adapt quickly. And moving around so much as a military brat gave me that experience at a young age that I didn't know would come back to me at 24 years old or 22 when I got drafted and help me be able to adapt so fast.
And is that sort of where the loner part comes in as well? Because during that time when you are adapting, you're by yourself a lot, and you have to learn to like that alone time.
Yeah, and natural loners tend to be really observant people. So I am an observant guy, and when I did have to move around so much, you observe before you act. And I had to observe the environment, observe what the culture was of New Orleans, Louisiana, Copperas Cove, Texas, Olympia, Washington, South Carolina, Alabama. I had to learn what it is, what is acceptable here, what's not acceptable, how are the kids going to treat me, how are they going to act towards me. So all those things help you, and have really created an analytical quarterback, which is usually the case.
Your dad was kind of tough on you, certainly involved in your athletic development. Other kids were out hanging out, playing in the street, going to parties. He has you running up hills, dragging a tire, and no dating allowed in high school. You may have rebelled on that a little bit, but I mean, how hard was that for you? Did you go through periods where you resented that kind of treatment and involvement and toughness from your dad? Obviously, it made you who you are today, but at the time, I'm sure as a young kid, it can be pretty tough.
I mean, it was tough, but it wasn't what everybody thinks. There's the movie dad that is pushing his kid because dad was a football player and he wants his son to be the greatest football player ever. But what I think people miss sometimes in that story is that when I was 5 years old, 6 years old, I went to my dad and I said, I want to be the best basketball player to ever play. I didn't say football, I didn't say track, I didn't say anything else. And he took me out there to the basketball courts and made me dribble with my left hand. Now, for a 6-year-old, dribbling with your opposite hand is the end of the world. And, I cried, went to my mom, and then the next day I went back to him and I said, let's do it again. So when he had me running up those hills, pulling tires and doing all the extra work and not partying, not dating, that was because that's what I wanted. And when I reaped the benefits of doing that stuff, it made me want to continue to do it. So yeah, there were some days when I looked at my dad and I said, I don't know what you're thinking. I mean, I'm only 15. Why do you have me doing this? But when I would go out and win gold medals in track or play at a high level in basketball or football, I'd look back on those times and say, you know what, that hard work helped me get to where I'm at. So from that standpoint, I never resented him. And that's why I brought him up here, and he lives in Maryland, because I felt like they deserved to be a part of this whole process since they helped me get here.
Mentioned that both your mom and your dad were Army sergeants. You had a pretty tough start to your 13th birthday. Tell us about that.
Yeah, my dad, he actually got stop-lossed when the war in Iraq broke out. He had done his 20 years. He was ready to, get out of the military and, get his retirement and be fine. And they stop-lossed him, told him that he had to go over to Iraq. So, February 12th, he got the call, and that morning he woke us all up, and I told everybody it was the worst birthday I've ever had, because I had to watch my dad walk out the house not knowing if he was going to come back, because I had experienced, some of my friends having parents and loved ones go overseas and be involved with some of these wars and not come back. And it was a scary time, but he needed me to be tough, and my mom needed me to be tough. So
told you that you're the man of the house, right?
Exactly.
That's 13 is not a man.
No, 13 is not a man, and in some cultures it is, but definitely not in the United States of America. And it was tough, but my mom said to a T, whatever he sent over from Iraq when he wanted me to do a workout, I did it because I wanted to make him proud, just in case anything happened.